Hello, and welcome to this Stone Ridge Connect session where we're talking about generative pages. Generative pages are a new tool that we now have in the Maker portal that allows us to describe a page using plain English into generative AI that then creates the page based on what we tell it we want. And we'll just go through a couple of slides, just lay the ground for this and give a broadish description. And then we'll jump into it, which we'll see it in action. All right, so generative pages, what are they? So generative pages in Dynamics 365 CE, they're AI-powered pages, like I said, and they automatically create their layout and content based on the data and context you provide in plain English, as we do as we talk to ChatGPT or Claude or whatever AI chat tools that we're used to seeing. But then it generates a page for us that we can use in our model-driven app in CE. So rather than manually designing every field and section, you would just describe what you want and it builds that page for you. When might you use one? Generative pages are able to create pages that are very different from the forms that you're used to seeing in Dynamics. If we think of a case form, it's very structured and you have your fields, but you're stuck with the look and feel of that, where generative pages is more just power pages. And so you have a lot more sort of freedom to design the page exactly how you would like. For today's example, we're going to create a simple form called a case op center for a customer service agent, complete with KPI cards, filterable work queue, and a contextual details panel. So we'll see all of that get built right before our eyes. And the way I'm going to do this is with this prompt. I'm going to basically copy and paste this prompt into the generator, the generative page engine, and it'll create that form that we're describing here. And if this form isn't exactly how I'd want it based on the prompt that I give it to start this thing off, I can iterate, I can add more to it, I can take away, so I can iterate through that design very easily. All right, so that's the prompt we're going to use. And we're going to head into, our Dynamics instance. And like I said, I'm just going to copy and paste that prompt. So where do we do this? We do it in the Maker portal and we do it directly into the app. So I have my solution here. All I have in here is just the one app that I care about. This is my customer service hub. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say that I want to edit this. You're used to seeing this. This is how we see our apps in Dynamics in the Maker portal. This is how we build them. We add forms and pages over here, entities from our CE. And what I'm going to do simply is hit this add page button up here and describe a page. So you're probably used to seeing and using some of these ways of adding pages, but this is the new generative pages place where we would do that. So I'm just going to say describe a page. It initializes the control, and this is all I get, just a sort of a chat window that we would see. I'm going to tell it what data I want. I'm going to add the account table. That's the first one that comes up. I'm going to add another table for case, and then finally one more just for user, because we want to see who the users are for this particular list of cases. All right, so let's just go grab our user table. There we go. So we got our 3 tables listed down here, and then I'm going to go ahead and copy in my prompt. There it is. It's just the thing that I showed on the slide. You can select your large language model down here. I find that 5.0 works best here, but you could try 4.1. So all I do now is hit the generate button. And what happens is the requirements engine will figure out what it thinks I've said are the requirements for this page. And then it generates the code for the page. And then when it's finished generating the code here in a moment, what we'll see is that page that it's generated just based on the words that I gave it in that prompt. And down the side here, we see the agent thoughts and the summary, and I can open and close these if I want to see what it thought based on what I gave it. So it gives you a very more detailed description of what it thinks you said. So it's that analysis engine, if you like. And then there's the summary. So it's going to create a case ops center page with a header KPI overview section. That's what we see up here. And this looks pretty good. But let's say what I want to do is add some color to this. Maybe let's have some color coding on our tiles up here. And I'm going to give it another little prompt. So we're iterating through our design. Oops, didn't want to do that. I got to copy it with plain text. There we go. So make the case count tile interactive and filter the data in the work queue accordingly. Make the work queue scrollable, color code the tiles. So let's give it that. And oops, it didn't like it that time. And this happens sometimes. So let's try again. There we go. Now it's working on it. And it's working through what I just told it. And then it's going to change the code. So like the first one created the code, now it's readdressing that code to add in this new instruction that we just gave it. That just takes a second or two. And it didn't do it. All right. This sometimes happens with the designer. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I've got another prompt that I want to give it anyway, because it's not showing me my database data for some reason. I told it where to go to get the data. And for some reason, it's giving me owner, Bob, Charlie, Dana. This is fake data that it just adds in. So I'll just update it. And in fact, it looks like these buttons are right, but the data below is not right. And sometimes you get a better view of the page in the app. So as you're designing, what we'll do here in a sec to test this out, we'll publish it and we'll make sure that it works inside our app as well. And so sometimes the preview that you see in the generative pages here in design mode is ever so slightly different to what you'll see in the main app. There we go. So it's got cases. And if I click on these, see how that data is changing, and it's using the right tables now. There's system administrator. These are real customers in my system. These are real case titles. And if I click this one, it's 34. If it's this one, it's 7. But let's try and get it to color code those tiles. I'll just type this in this time. Color code the tiles. A vague request, but let's just see what it does with that. And we can see from its thoughts, if I expand that, it says it's going to do open cases light blue, high priority light red, recent cases light green, average age light orange. So when it's finished, let's see if it did it the way it just described it to me. Finishing up. Interestingly enough, these don't look color-coded to me. Does that mean they're not color-coded? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's save. And when it's saved, we will publish. And publishing. And then when it's published, we'll pop over to our... I'll tell you what I want to do, actually. I want to give it a better name here. So while it's saving, I'm just going to call this case command center. We'll just save that again. Yeah, there we go. Save and publish. And it's just publishing. Give it another moment. There we go. Now let's go. I can just hit the play button, or I could go back to my app. Let's just hit the play button, drops me into my app. And with this form in context. So let's see what we got. All right, I think it's down the bottom, case command center. There it is. Let's see what this looks like. I don't think that's the one that I want. I think it's this guy. There we go. didn't color code it, I could go back and ask it to. I could ask it to render the views differently. I could give it in plain English instruction to change the tiles. Colors didn't do it that time, but I'm sure if I did it again, it would. We've got our filtering working here. High priority cases, I hit that tile and we just get the 7, and hit that one and we get 1. 34 brings us back to this, and it's a scrollable list as I asked it to be. And so there we have a pretty basic, pretty quick example of what a generative page is. And you'll know if you've spent any time trying to develop this type of functionality in Dynamics, this would have, prior to generative pages, really necessitated a lot of code and a lot of hours to build the form. Okay, I could add something more here to the plus new button that would allow me to create a case form. But basically, I can iterate through this design. I go back to my generative page designer, iterate through the design a little bit more until I get exactly where I want to be. We find that we're using this for sort of proofs of concept and that type of thing, just to try out some ideas about what we think this client could benefit from in a slightly different design. Sometimes you get those requests that are a little more complex than can be handled by a regular form, as I described earlier. That's it. That's basically a generative page. It's AI powered. You talk to it in somewhat plain English, and it generates the page for you very quickly. All right. So that's my generative pages session. Thank you. I appreciate you joining me today. And I think that's us. Thank you.